What if the stories we know got it all wrong? We all know the tale of Zeus, the thunder-wielding king of the gods, who overthrew his father, Kronos, and the Titans to usher in the age of the Olympians. But what if the coin had landed on the other side? What if, in the final, earth-shattering battle for cosmic supremacy, Zeus had lost? Imagine a world where the thunderclap of victory wasn't for Zeus, but for his father, Kronos. A world where the golden age of Olympus never began, and instead, the iron rule of the Titans returned, stronger and more absolute than ever before. This isn't just a simple power swap. It's a fundamental rewriting of reality itself. Picture Mount Olympus, not as a gleaming palace of light and revelry, but as a grim, shadowy fortress. On a throne carved from obsidian and cooled lava sits Kronos, the Titan of time, not as a vanquished memory, but as the supreme ruler of the cosmos. He wouldn't be celebrating with ambrosia and nectar. No, his victory feast would be a chilling reminder of his nature. And Zeus, the would-be king, he wouldn't be on the throne. He'd be in the deepest, darkest pit of Tartarus, bound by chains forged from his own shattered lightning bolts. The very symbol of his power would become the instrument of his eternal imprisonment. With Kronos back in charge, the first thing to go would be the sky as we know it. The vibrant blue, the fluffy white clouds, the life-giving sun, all of it would be blotted out. Kronos, a creature of shadow and paranoia, would shroud the world in a perpetual twilight. The sun, a painful reminder of his own children, Apollo and Artemis, would be banished, hidden behind an impenetrable veil of storm clouds that never rain, but only loom. The world would be cast in a permanent, depressing gray, a reflection of the new ruler's soul. What about the other Olympians? Their fates would be cruel mockeries of their former domains. Poseidon, the mighty earthshaker and master of the seas, would be demoted. Imagine him, stripped of his trident, forced to serve as a ferryman on the river Styx, eternally rowing the souls of the dead under the watchful, unforgiving eyes of Hades. But Hades wouldn't be in the underworld. Oh no, he'd be brought up to Olympus, not as a brother, but as a glorified warden, tasked with managing the eternal suffering of his fellow Olympians. His kingdom of the dead would become a cosmic prison, and he, the jailer. Hera, the proud queen of Olympus, would suffer a fate designed to break her spirit. She, who valued family and loyalty above all, would be forced to serve as a handmaiden to Rhea, her own mother, constantly reminded of the family she failed to protect. Athena, the goddess of wisdom and strategy, would have her mind clouded, her brilliant thoughts twisted into knots of confusion, her wisdom turned to madness. And Ares, the god of war, he'd be a gladiator in a celestial arena, forced to fight endlessly for the amusement of the Titans, his lust for battle turned into a curse of eternal, meaningless combat. For humanity, life under Titan rule would be a bleak existence. The concept of progress, of ambition, of free will, all of it would vanish. Kronos, as the master of time, would see mortals not as creations to be nurtured, but as cogs in a machine. He would control time itself, not just in the grand cosmic sense, but in the small, intimate moments of every human life. Imagine living in a world where time could stop at any moment, where a single displeasing word could get you frozen in place for a century, a living statue, aware but unable to move. Humanity would live in constant fear. The Titans aren't like the Olympians, who, for all their faults, were known to meddle, love, and even help mortals. The Titans are primordial forces, cold and indifferent. Iapetus, Atlas, Oceanus. They would carve up the world as their personal fiefdoms. Atlas, no longer holding up the sky, would instead hold humanity down, enforcing Kronos' will with crushing force. The golden age of man would be replaced by an age of silent, obedient servitude. There would be no art, no philosophy, no science. Why would there be? Innovation is born from freedom, and freedom would be a forgotten word. Prayers would go unanswered, not because the gods are fickle, but because the new gods simply don't care. They are power incarnate, and mortals are less than insects to them. The world would become a stagnant pond, with humanity trapped beneath the surface, unable to break free. But what if, after millennia of this oppressive silence, a spark of rebellion were to ignite? Not from the gods, but from humanity itself. Perhaps a descendant of Prometheus, the Titan who once defied the gods for mankind's sake, would emerge. This hero wouldn't wield lightning or command the seas. Their weapon would be hope, a forbidden, dangerous idea in a world ruled by despair. They would rally others in secret, whispering tales of a different time, a time of sunlight and freedom, of gods who laughed and fought and bled. They would work to uncover ancient knowledge, seeking a way to break Kronos' hold. Their quest would lead them to the forgotten corners of the earth, to the very gates of Tartarus, seeking a weapon powerful enough to challenge the Lord of Time. And what would that weapon be? Not a sword or a spear. It would be an idea. The idea that time, even for its master, is not absolute. That new things can be born. That change is inevitable. They would seek to create a paradox, an event so disruptive that it would shatter Kronos' control over the timeline. Imagine this small band of human rebels, armed with forbidden knowledge, managing to create a tiny pocket of time that Kronos cannot touch, a single moment that is their own. From this foothold, they would launch their assault. It wouldn't be a physical battle, but a war of concepts. They would reintroduce change into a static world. As chaos begins to ripple through his perfect, orderly cosmos, Kronos would be forced to focus his immense power to contain it. And in that moment of distraction, the chains in Tartarus might begin to weaken. A flicker of lightning, long dormant, might spark in the darkness. Zeus, fueled by the unexpected glimmer of hope from the mortal world, would begin to stir. The final battle wouldn't be Zeus versus Kronos round 2. It would be a three-way struggle. The cold, absolute order of the Titans, the chaotic, passionate freedom of the Olympians, and the determined, fragile hope of humanity, all clashing to define the future of existence. Humanity would no longer be a pawn in a divine game. They would be a player, fighting for their own seat at the cosmic table. Who would win? It's impossible to say, but the outcome would be a universe fundamentally different from the one we know. Perhaps it wouldn't be a world ruled by Titans or Olympians, but a new reality forged from the compromise of all three. A world where gods are more humble and mortals are more powerful. A world where the sun might not shine every day, but the threat of eternal twilight is held at bay by the simple, powerful act of remembering what it means to be free. So, if Zeus had lost, it might have been the beginning of a much darker, more terrifying story. But it also could have been the story of how humanity, stripped of everything, found its own strength and fought not just for survival, but for its very soul. It teaches us that even when the gods fall, hope can endure. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey into an alternate mythology. What do you think would happen? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoy exploring these what-if scenarios, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you never miss another legendary tale. We'll see you in the next one.